Hello guys, welcome back to Chris Poly channel. This video I want to share about Global Lab update at 20 October 2023 maintenance update. But be noticed, all content on this Global Lab video was recorded on Global Lab server, so this is all content that will update on our live server in future, and mostly all this update will implement on Korea live server next week maintenance update, and following outside Korea server if they already feel this content already ready to release outside Korea server globally. Okay, to enjoy watch my video, make sure you turn on this video subtitle, and also you can use timestamp that I already provide to go to target topic that you want. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on bell notification to get any update and guide on Black Desert World. Okay, let's start this video content using any feature that I provide. Okay, this is official website for Global Lab update at 20 October 2023. First feature update is about class balancing. Actually, as I mentioned on my previous video at Black Desert Weekly News at 3rd week October 2023, that I mentioned about class balancing delay. On this week Global Lab update, they also just mentioned about this delay for implementing any class balancing that they already announced on Global Lab server to official live server until Asia Note World Championship is done. But they still will announce any class balancing on Global Lab server and will be updated soon after Asia Note World Championship is finished. And for this week Global Lab update, they also mention instead they nerf any class to be balancing with specific class, they will buff all other class to become balanced with any outstanding class. So there will less nerf for any class in future. And first class that got balancing is Warrior class. For Warrior Succession, this flow prime skill, they will increase life recovery effect from 50 point to become 40 point. And also this is any skill for Warrior Succession that got PvE damage buff, but take notice all PvP damage nearly same as before because they also increase PvP damage reduction for all this skill. Okay, next class that got huge buff also for Ranger class. Okay, first about Ranger Succession. First for these two skill, they just balance this skill to become have less PvE damage during cooldown. And for this Prime Flow skill, they just reduce its cooldown from 12 seconds to become 7 seconds only. And then for another Prime Flow skill, they just fix some issue for PvP content. And this is list for Ranger Succession skill that got buff its PvE damage. And same as before, all PvP damage still same as before because they also increase PvP damage reduction for all this skill. And next for Ranger Awakening, they also will increase this skill HP recovery from 50 point to become 140 point. And they just fix some issue for this skill. And the good news for Ranger Awakening skill, they also just reduce any skill cooldown for all these 5 skill. So you can use Ranger Awakening combo more faster than before. And still about Ranger Awakening buff, this is any Ranger Awakening skill that got PvE buff. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they increase PvP damage reduction for all this skill. Okay, next class that got buff is Mehua class. And this is about Mehua Awakening that they just increase stamina recovery for this skill from 30 point to become 50 point. And also for this Mehua Awakening flow skill, they just increase HP recovery from 20 point to become 50 point. And this is any skill for Mehua Awakening that got PvE buff. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. And next buff come for Kunoichi Awakening, that they just increase HP recovery for this skill from 25 point to become 48 point. And also another skill got HP recovery buff from 50 point to become 87 point. And this is any skill from Kunoichi Awakening that got buff its PvE damage and PvP damage still same as before because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. And next class buff come for Tamer class. First about Tamer Succession, that they will decrease cooldown to command your Heiliang from 10 minutes to become 60 seconds only. And for another Succession skill for Tamer, they also just move life recovery effect from this skill to another skill. And for another Tamer Succession skill, also got improved for Combat Source recovery from 40 point to become 60 point. And the same thing for its Prime skill, that they will increase its Combat Source recovery from 50 point to become 80 point. But take notice this combat source recovery will not apply during skill cooldown. And for another timer succession flow skill, they just fix this skill to become have PvE damage reduced when in cooldown. And for another timer succession skill, this prime skill will have same life recovery effect either from first hit and second hit, and they just fix some issue for this skill. And this is least stable for timer succession skill PvE buff, and same as before, PvP damage didn't change because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. Meanwhile, for timer awakening skill also got buff its PvE damage following on this table. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. Okay, next class that got PvE buff is Corsair class, especially for Corsair Succession, that they just improve this slow skill, especially for Prime type, to become have life recovery effect that apply for all hit, and also HP recovery for this flow skill got improved from 40 point to become 65 point. And this is any skill that got buff for Corsair Succession, especially for PvE damage. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. Okay, next class that got buff is Dark Knight class. And first for Dark Knight Succession, they just improve this flow skill to become have same range for its hit, but maximum range in front your character just got reduced, and wider for this attack range just increase. And for another succession skill for Dark Knight class, they just remove combat source consumption from this skill, and they also just increase combat source recovery for this skill following on this list, and also life recovery for this skill following on this list. And another Dark Knight Prime skill also got improved for its HP recovery amount following on this list. And then for this Dark Knight Succession flow skill, they just increase combat source recovery from 30 point to become 50 point. And then for another prime skill for this Dark Knight, they also increase HP recovery skill following on this list. And they just fix some issue for this skill and for another flow skill. But for this flow skill, they also increase number of hit from this skill by 1 hit. And then this is table list for Dark Knight Succession skill that got PvE damage buff. But take notice PvP damage still same as before because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. And still for Dark Knight class, but for this time is Dark Knight Awakening, that they also just increase combat source recovery from 30 point to become 60 point. And for this Dark Knight Awakening skill, they just add HP recovery 80 point per hit from this skill. And for another Dark Knight Awakening skill, good improvement for HP recovery effect following on this list. And they just fix some issue for this skill and another flow skill. And this is table list for any Dark Knight Awakening skill that got PvE buff. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. And next class that got buff is Assassin class. And first about Assassin Succession, that they just increase HP recovery for this flow prime skill from 40 point to become 80 point. And also for another flow prime skill for this Assassin Succession, they just add HP recovery effect for this skill. And this is table list for any Assassin Succession skill that got PvE buff. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. And next for Assassin Awakening, they also just improve Assassin Awakening that both of this skill just got improvement for HP recovery effect following on this improvement. And this is any skill from Assassin Awakening that got improvement for its PvE damage. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. And next class that got PvE buff is Witch class. First for Witch Succession, that they just improve this Witch Succession flow skill to become have its PvE damage reduced when you activate it during cooldown. And HP recovery effect for this prime skill also got improved from 50 point to become 100 point. And they also just fix some issue for this skill. And this is any skill list that got PvE buff for Witch Succession skill. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction for all this skill. And next for Witch Awakening, they also just improve some skill for this Wits Awakening. For this Wits Awakening skill, they just add buff for all AP plus 10 for 10 seconds. And also for this skill, they also just add all DP plus 20 for 20 seconds. And for this flow skill, they also just improve its HP recovery effect from 50 point to become 100 point. And the same thing for this skill. And for another skill, they just fix some issue for this Wits Awakening. And this is stable list for any Wits Awakening skill that got improve its PvE damage. And same as before, PvP damage still same because they also increase PvP damage reduction rate for all this skill. Okay, next about any content that will update in future. On this week Global Lab update, they will buff alchemy content on Black Desert. And this is become huge buff for alchemy content that will apply in future. First, they will add more source to get any material for this alchemy content, and first buff come for any kind of trash item. This is mentioning about any trash of item following on this list, that they will add more source to get all this trash of item from any source on Black Desert. Okay, first source come from production node that you can send your worker to specific node to get any kind of trash of this item. That they will increase gain of this trash of item to become twice compared than before. And they also will increase reward for any instant quest for alchemy content. That previously this reward is 300 pieces to become 500 pieces for each of trash item that you choose. But any mission for this quest still same as before. And in future they will change gathering content. Previously you can get any kind of trade item. And in future, all these trade item will be deleted, and instead that, they will change this trade item to become any kind of trash of item. So in future, we cannot get any kind of this trade item from gathering content anymore. And don't worry, because removing this gathering trade item, any mission quest that require this trade item will be changed to become obtaining fairy breed. Actually, this fairy breed is byproduct from gathering content. And this is the item for this fairy breed. So if you're doing gathering daily quest from Liana NPC, in future instead you need to get 10 pieces trade item for its gathering content, you will need to collect this fairy breed item to finish this daily quest. And if you need some guide about daily quests for any kind of life skill content, especially from Liana and Ludovic NPC, you can follow my guide about this life skill content on this video to level up your character life skill more faster than anyone. And still about trash of item, they also will add some monster zone to become drop this trash of item more than before, like at Givin Rasia Temple Underground and Upper Floor that you can get trash of memory from Givin Rasia Temple Underground and trash of forest from Givin Rasia Temple Upper Floor. And then another alchemy material that got improvement is any kind of sap that they just improve not worker production for any kind of sap. For maple tree sap, they will increase it 1.5 times compared than before. For snowfield cedar sap that you can get it from Mountain of Eternal Winter region, they will increase it 5 times compared than before. And for any other sap, they also will increase it double compared than before. And this is any list for any node that got affected for the sap node worker production. And then if you gathering manually any kind of sap, they also will increase its minimum and maximum number of sap that you can gather. But take notice quantity for this gathering content surely will depend on your gathering mastery for its gathering content. And this is also will apply for any kind of sap following on this table. And in future they will add special Afuaru NPC when you gathering sap in the tree, that you can interact with this Afuaru NPC that spawn when you collecting sap on any tree. And if you interact with this Afuaru NPC, this Afuaru NPC will give you random sap regardless the tree that you gather. And Prebis also mentioned you can obtain large amount of sap from this Afuaru NPC. Okay, next alchemy material that got buff is any kind of fruit. This is mentioning about any kind of fruit that's shown on this list. And in future, Prebis will increase number of fruit that you can obtain from any kind of source. First source come from mysterious seed. If you plant any kind of mysterious seed, they will increase quantity of fruit that you can obtain 1.5 times compared than before. And also any kind of farming content, they also will increase quantity of fruit that you can obtain 1.33 times compared than before. And for any other gathering content, probability to obtain any kind of fruit also will increase 1.7 times compared than before. And next, they also will improve alchemy byproduct. This is mentioning about this mysterious catalyst item. And in future, they will improve any item that you can obtain from this mysterious catalyst. Following on this table, that you can exchange 10 pieces mysterious catalyst, that you can choose one of them, either 200 pieces flame of powder, powder of reef, powder of earth, powder of time, or 5 pieces shining powder. But on this week Global Lab update, they didn't mention if this byproduct mysterious catalyst will be replaced to become newer one, or they will produce new item for this mysterious catalyst. So by this unknown information, make sure you save this mysterious catalyst and didn't exchange it after you know about this information. And they also just remove and add some item that you can surprisingly get when doing alchemy content. And this is any item that will be deleted when you doing alchemy content. And instead that they will add some more precious item when you doing alchemy content. And next, they also just give some update for unknown seed. And in future, you can process this unknown seed by using this ingredient, 1 piece unknown seed with 1 truffle to obtain truffle mycelium. And function for this truffle mycelium, this is like truffle seed that you can put it on your fence and will take 10 grit for your fence. But this truffle mycelium, you cannot breed it, so you only can harvest this truffle mycelium corp from your fence. And this truffle mycelium corpse only can be harvested when fully grown, and when you harvest it, you will get large amount of truffle. And from this truffle mycelium content that you can plant, when you gathering it, you have chance to get this white truffle. And function for this white truffle, you can sell it with higher price, or you also can use it to crafting any alchemy product that use truffle as its material. And as the result, you can obtain large amount of product by using this white truffle as its material. And they also mention icon for truffle item will be changed. And some alchemy material also will be available to put on central market like thick Turo blood and Turo heart, and also abyssal essence. In future, you can put this abyssal essence on central market. And also this remnant of burnt spirit, you also can put this item on central market in future. And then in future, probability to get everlasting herb also will increase 30% than before. So you can get this everlasting herb more easy after this update come. And then alchemy material that you can get from hunting content and also defeating sea monster, and this is will apply for any kind of organic sea monster. And another alchemy material that will got buff is Griffon Claw, that you can get this Griffon Claw from any kind of Griffon, either any kind from hunting Griffon, and also any kind of Griffon boss that you summon from any kind of scroll. And then if you want to find any snowy cheddar tree, they will populate this snow cheddar tree around this location on map near Elton City at Mountain of Eternal Winter. And this is location in game map that they will change location for this snowy cheddar tree below Eretia Belt Knot. And then because all this buff for alchemy content, they also will increase maximum price for any kind of elixir. As you can see, this is table list for any kind of elixir that will increase its price, either any kind of party elixir and also its single elixir. And also any kind of perfume also will increase, and any other item for its material also will increase following on this table. And you can check detailed information for this table on this video description for its translated website. Okay, next future content is improvement for War of the Roses. Actually, they already do this War of the Roses on Korea server at last Sunday, 15 October 2023. And because of this experience, they just improve this War of the Roses content before they release it for any region server outside Korea. Either they improving team chat so you can coordinate with your faction member, improve any kind of sanctuary, and also increasing number of siege weapon and vehicle that you can summon to become more than before, especially for this ancient chariot. And for any other detail change for this War of the Roses, you can check on this video description for its translated website, and all this content will be implemented to our live server in future when they releasing this War of the Roses for any region server outside Korea. And if you want to watch some movie about this War of the Roses to know story behind this War of the Roses between Kama Sylvia and Odelita region, you can check my previous video that I compile all this movie that I already put English subtitle for this movie, and you also can translate this English subtitle to become any language that you understand to know the tell story what happened for this War of the Roses. And as always, you can check this video in this video description. And next, some improvement for this embark function from your ship. Actually, about this embark function, this is just implement from Korea server that just update from last Global Lab update at 13 October 2023 when I mentioning about instant disembark from ship. And in future, they will update this disembark function to become have more distance 1.5 times compared than before. And they will fix some issue for this disembark function, so will not expose when you still mount on your ship. And next, if you watch my previous video about update leak info for Q4 2023 that I'm mentioning about telescope furniture and Krokdalo Sanctuary furniture, at least on this week Global Lab update, they just announced officially this new treasure furniture item. And as you can see, this is new treasure furniture item that you can get it if you already have Luffy Bed Mountain upgraded telescope. And this furniture, you can place it on your residence or your manor. And after you get this telescope, you also will get special title. And I think this is yellow title, same as another treasure title that you can wear it for any character in your account. And this is how it's look for treasure furniture if you already have Krokdalo Sanctuary after you success collecting 3 type of tier 10 mythical horse. But for this furniture, this is only can be placed on your manor because this furniture item is exterior furniture for your manor. And same as before, for this Krokdalo Sanctuary furniture, you also can get special yellow title that you can wear it for any character in your account. And how to get both of this treasure item, still same as another treasure item, that you only need to show this treasure item to Patrigio NPC that located at Crown Nest area. It's mean on this location on map, Crown Nest area, this is special island that owned by Patrigio. And next, some improvement for Monster Zone. In future, they will make some Monster Zone to become more dense than before. And this is list for any Monster Zone, either Bashim, Desert Naga, Crescent Temple, Sulfur Mine, and Pilaku Jail. And they also just add some object, Desert Forgan Sentries, that will mention location for this Titium Valley. So you can follow this Desert Forgan Sentries in the desert to enter this Titium Valley with this guidance. And for any other monster zone, also got improvement, like at S Forest, that they will increase trash loot from this S Forest from 2 until 4 pieces to become 3 until 5 pieces. And for Olun Valley, they also will add trash of battle item that can be obtained when you defeating Olun Colossus or destroying its left arm for this Colossus. And number of trash loot that you can get by destroying Colossus left arm also got improved from 3 pieces to become 3 until 5 pieces. And then for Queen Hill, they just changed drop for Trash of Despair to become Trash of Forest that will drop from any monster troll on this list. And then for Altar Im Elvia, they will increase trash loot quantity from all these monsters that shown on this list from 1 until 2 pieces to become 1 until 3 pieces. And if you defeating special mini-boss on this Altar Im Elvia, they will increase its trash loot from 2 until 4 pieces to become 2 until 5 pieces. And for Thornwood Forest, they will change monster status effect that will attack you to become Unify to become knockback only. And also for Monster Zone on City of the Dead, that they will improve to get this Ulukita Essence buff to defeat any monster on City of the Dead that you need to defeat this specific monster on this Monster Zone. And for World Boss Ovin, they just increase HP for this World Boss Ovin 50% compared than before. So this will take longer time to defeat this World Boss Ovin. And then some improvement in future that they will remove some object following on this location that shown on this picture, either on Givin Rasya Temple Underground, Tisria Ruin, that they just remove some object from this 4 location. At Manshaum Forest, that they just remove some fence on this location. At Bari Forest, that they just remove 3 root object on this location. Bombahwi Valley, that they just remove stone step and rock object from this location. Rutum Outstation, that they just remove some object on this monster zone, and also some stone object on Darkseeker Retreat monster zone on Ulukita region. And next, some quality of life for user interface, and this is about pet function. In future, you can give name for group pet that you already set, so you can identify more easy which group pet with its name. And this group name will appear when you choosing each pet to sign for each group. And also some quality of life. In future, if you dismount your horse or wagon, if you already activate auto sprint function, this activated auto sprint function checklist will stay there even after you remount your horse or your wagon. But take notice this function still will reset if you reload your game, either using traveler map, escape function, or move to another server. So if you entering loading screen, this auto sprint function check will be removed. And they also will improve some crystal preset function that they already announced on last Global Lab update at 13 October 2023 when I mentioned about crystal preset user interface change. And mostly of these changes, they will give some improvement for quality of life, especially when you manage your crystal. And for any other minor fix and change, I think all of this not too a big deal. Okay, that's all feature update of Black Desert World that they already announced at 20 October 2023. And special thanks to all my membership for direct support via Patreon, Karya Karsa, and YouTube membership. And also my current member, Dubiadut, Doki, Angel, Ayrton, Snot, Soren, Alt, Afrilka, Elfamilia, Drunken Video, Jeff, Legend Z as gold member. And also for all my silver and bronze member, thank you so much for all your direct support. This will make Chris Poly channel running and growing more faster. If you want to support me directly, I will very grateful. And as special thanks, I will put your name on my video depend on your support level. And be noticed at some level there are have some limit, so make sure you didn't get run out for this limited space. And I will put your name on every subsequent video that I release for the duration of your support. And if you want to join my membership to support me directly, you can go to any platform for Patreon, Karya Karsa, and YouTube membership. I already put link for this membership on this video description, or you can check on top right of this video. I already put card for Patreon link. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe to my channel for another guide and update. Thank you for watching. See you next time.